Hey, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy. I'm one for Orange, aka I'm one for Arige. Back at it again with another competitive analysis video of the Pokemon Planet meta. If you missed the last video, I did a breakdown on the T1 meta and specifically Krookodile in that meta. So if you missed that video, you can check out the description. There will be a link to that, or you can go to my channel. It'll be available at any time. But this video goes out to those who have sent out their Rotom Wash to try to end the Azumarill sweep on the other side of the battlefield. You click Volt Switch, confident that you're gonna win and stop this Belly Drum sweep. Then all of a sudden the Azu beats your Rotom Wash in speed and kills you with Play Rough. After this, the Azumarill simply just blows through the rest of your defensive core because you're out of options to deal with it, and Aqua Jet picks off everything. This guide is going to be an introduction on speed creeps in the Pokemon Planet meta, mostly for BQ and T2. Now, I say introduction, I actually just recorded a video on this, and it turned out to be an hour long, so that was kind of unacceptable. The goal of these videos is to just be simple in and out information and something you can just watch leisurely instead of put on like a movie. So yeah, this will be attempt number 2 at making that. Now, before we get much further, I just want to say that the style of these videos is very podcasty in nature. There won't be a whole lot of fancy editing or anything going on the screen. So if you'd like to get on with your day, go for your morning walk, your jog, have your coffee, I'm not offended. Simply just listen to the audio and take in what you can. And let me know how you like it at the end of the video. Leave a rating, a comment, and let's get right into it. So the first thing to establish in speed creep is what is speed creep. Well, speed creep is a way where Pokemon that don't usually run max speed on something, or they're a defensive Pokemon with some offensive utility, they try to run some speed in effort to help deal with an offensive matchup. And this might be a lot of words that kind of went in one ear and out the other. So the first thing we'll establish are your targets. What exactly might speed creep be good for? And the very first example, which will be no stranger to anyone that's played a game in BQ or T2 at any time, is this Clefable set. Just a simple, bold, unaware Magic Guard Clefable. And the speed tier we need to hit on this one is 156. We'll see that some Pokemon, if they can be faster than this, their matchup against Clefable completely changes. And same with Skarmory. Even though it is 70 speed, and it hits 176 total, this is still faster than stuff like Azumarill, which is only base 50 speed. And we will be looking at those Pokemon specifically soon as well. So we'll be looking at matchups where if you're faster than Skarmory, where you normally be slower, how does your matchup change? Now, Heatran, this is not a suggested EV spread for this, by the way. The target section is mainly just to show the sets themselves and what people commonly run in PPO. We will see an alternate calm Heatran spread later, but in terms of a target, this is a fine target, as a lot of people don't run speed on their calm Heatran in PPO, therefore this can be a good target to hit. Now, additionally, like I said, with this being an introductory video, there are a lot of sets and Pokemon that might potentially be missing, but again, because the last video was an hour long, I'm just going to be hitting on the main common ones, and even though Heatran isn't common definitely by rarity, it's definitely a Pokemon you'll see if you play a few games on the BQ ladder. So that is why it is included. Azumarill and Krookodile together, these are all 3 different unique speeds. Adamant max speed at 199, Adamant Krookodile max speed at 209, and Jolly Azumarill, this one mostly being the Belly Drum set at 218. And we'll see how we can get our matchups better versus these Pokemon as well. Bisharp is going to be the bane of our speed creep discussion today. Pretty much any defensive Pokemon that can bully this out and force it into clicking Sucker Punch, which is a 50-50 whether you click an attack or not, instead of knockoff, is going to put Bisharp in a bad spot. It turns out that knockoff is a pretty good move, and forcing it to click sucker can give you a better matchup. And then finally, we have Breloom, which is mostly included because of its commonality as a lead and also being a somewhat unique speed tier, also with Bisharp at 70, but this one typically being Jolly. So we'll see how we can tech around Breloom before our lead ends up getting spored or a Swords Dance gets set up on it. Maybe there's ways we can break its Focus Sash in a lead matchup before this Pokemon gets too scary. So we're going to be talking about users now, and we have some EV spreads here. But there's one important topic before we dive into all this that we absolutely need to be talking about, and that is, well, typically, I'm in a Pokemon Showdown team builder. This means that I have 31 IVs on all of my stats. If you are no stranger to PPO, you know that this isn't going to happen. 31 IV Mons in all 6 stats are very rare and almost a myth in the PPO realm. So just like the advice I'm going to shortly give on Smogon, do not copy these EV spreads to the T. Do some experimenting and find out what works. Now, while, for example, if you have 27 attack on your Conkeldurr, you're likely still going to be running 252 attack, and this doesn't change. But if the speed we need to hit is 168, and this 168 number is important for Scizor, which is 166 speed, as well as other things, but I'm just showing Scizor specifically so we have our benchmark, 166. If we have a 20 speed Conkeldurr and someone were to copy this video and find out, okay, I'm going to run 168 EVs on my Conkeldurr, your Conkeldurr only has a total of 157 speed. So the information I give in this video, whether you're faster than Scizor or not, is irrelevant. And this video didn't actually help you. So what I do encourage you to do is find a screenshot of your Pokemon, for example, here, where you can see all the IVs, and you can import this into a Showdown team builder one by one, just like this, let's say, and then you can see how your Pokemon truly stacks up. Now, in the example here, we have a 6-speed Conkeldurr, and if we need to do any kind of speed creep whatsoever, we'll quickly see that it's unviable. Even 252 speed doesn't hit the 168 benchmark that we're going for. So there's another degree of being aware that your Pokemon simply isn't cut out to be doing speed creeps. And in that case, you either do IV resets or hunt or farm a new one, or buy one simply. But yeah, be aware of what exactly you're seeing here. In a Pokemon Showdown team builder, things can be misleading because I have 31s in all stats. And you don't always want to copy sets blindly and just put them in. Smogon doesn't always know what's good for you. And for a final example before we start diving into sets here, let's look at the Sun and Moon analysis for Volcarona, where people might look at this and they'll see bulky Quiver Dance. That sounds fantastic. 248 HP, 112 defense, 148 speed. Timid nature, I have a timid Volcarona, this sounds great. Well, Smogon is giving you 148 speed, by the way, specifically assuming you have 31 speed. So if you had 30 speed, for example, you would need 152 speed EVs. But that's besides the point for this example, actually. If we read just below and not just copy the set for what it is without reading, we'll see set details. 148 speed EVs with a timid nature mean Volcarona can outspeed Adamant, Mega Metachan. The remaining EVs are put into bulk, enabling Volcarona to better check Mega Mawile, Mega Scizor, and Kartana. Okay, so if you read this analysis and you see that the speed actually in the bulk doesn't actually check anything in PPO, you'll quickly see where I'm getting at with this. Don't copy spreads off Smogon. Always do your own research yourself. Put your IVs into here, and even though this isn't a complete guide of all speed tiers, And even though there is a link on the Pokemon Planet forums, even this hasn't been updated in 4 years. Use these references though, use your own knowledge, or reach out and ask questions and figure out what you should be doing with your sets. Again, this is an introductory guide. There's only so much I can do, but that entire point there almost deserves its own video. But to keep things rolling, we do have to end it there. Make sure you check your IVs. Don't follow these blindly. All the sets I'm showing you from this point forward are for 31 all around, right? If you have 29 speed, put it into the team builder and adjust accordingly. Okay, and we still hit 168 speed. Remember, this white number here is your stat after EVs. So hitting that is the goal. And that's what we'll be going for the rest of this video. And with that said, how does this Flame Orb Conkeldurr actually help its matchups by being 168 speed? There are 3 Pokemon in particular that it's very, very good for. So let's get the Conkeldurr up with the Gut set, and I'll put my speed in here now. Again, the rest of the EVs are just tossed in bulk. They don't actually mean that much. And let's look at Clefable. Clefable is the amazing example here, where we have 156 speed with a 60 speed as your base. Remember, as a 45 speed Mon, we need this speed to catch it. So how does our matchup get better? Well, looking at Moonblast damage, it is very, very close to a KO, especially after some burn damage and rocks. But looking at our Facade, we 2-hit KO the Clefable. So it can't switch in, it can't even revenge kill us if we're healthy enough. So Facade Conkeldurr, having this much speed, makes your matchup much better against Clefable. Much, 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 much better. It turns it from being something that can just Wish Protect stall you into something that's dead. Running this much speed at least to be around 158 speed is a minimum for your Conkeldurr if you're a Flame Orb Gut set. Do not run less speed than this. The only reason I'm going to be vouching for this speed is just to have a bit easier of a time against no speed invest Scizor, which is 166 speed, and it's not that much of a hassle. But I did say there's 3 Pokemon this is relevant for, and the final one is Skarmory. Now, wow, we are slower than Skarmory. Why would that be? Well, when Skarmory uses Roost, it loses its flying type. So by still being faster than some threats, but underspeeding Skarmory, if we allow it to Roost on us as we underspeed it, our Drain Punch is doing a lot more damage, 72 to 86, than if it still had its flying type. So Drain Punch and a Drain Punch is a KO in many, many times, especially after rocks, if we underspeed Skarmory. So when it roosts, it loses its flying typing. This is a huge example of where this matters. And that's why, even though you can run max speed Conk, I do find that running enough speed that you still underspeed Skarmory for this purpose is good. So that's just something to keep in mind, and how Conkeldurr's matchups get so much better with speed creep brought into account. Azumarill is another fantastic example of matchups that just get flipped because of speed creep, and I will say mostly that this is because of Skarmory as well. This Azu set we're using here, you can run max speed Azu if you have a 31 IV in speed. But if you aren't as privileged and you don't have a 31 speed Azu, or you just want more bulk, running 176 speed is acceptable, because this is faster than Skarmory. And again, this is something you only want to do if you're specifically adamant banned Azumarill because of your liquidation damage and your ability to 1v1. After rocks, this is a 98% chance to 2-hit KO, which is huge. Even leftover Skarmory, the 50-50 is in your favor. And by being faster than Skarmory, you don't let it roost stall you, or in the worst case scenario that it is faster and has a Rocky Helmet, you don't end up taking too much Rocky Helmet damage while you proceed to try to break through an unbreakable wall. And this is amazing. And of course, you can still win that 1v1 because Liquidation does have a 20% chance to drop Skarmory's defense, but being faster is just the way to go, in my opinion. So that's where Azu's matchup can get a lot better. And again, if you want to play into the mirror and you are 31 speed, that spread is acceptable to just go max. But the only one that's essential to me to really drill through for the purpose of this video are the liquidation purposes on Skarmory. You have to outspeed that. Clefable is really in direct counter of what we were talking about earlier with Conk. Now, I have Flamethrower and Moonblast here, and we notice we hit this coveted to me 168 speed, because this does make us faster than no invest Scizor. Now, if you're playing something like Stall, and you're fighting a Choice Band Scizor with 252 HP, and you are a Bold Clef, you'll notice that you are slower by 10 points. So now let's pump up the 48 speed, all this assuming I'm a 31 IV, remember? So now I am faster than Scizor. And this is somewhat a 50-50 in the early game for what the Scizor can do. Or maybe you can even say there's three options. You either switch out immediately, assuming the Clefable is fast, or the more common things you do are U-turn on it to get your chip, because Banded Bullet Punch, despite you being a Scizor and this being a Clef, does not kill. If you look at this calc here. So being faster and thinking that maybe there is a chance that they run U-turn, you only take 21 to 24 as the Clef, and you have a chance to kill with Flamethrower just by running this speed. Now the Scizor interaction is cool and all, but it also directly counters the Conkeldurr that maybe only barely outspeeds to hit 156, say they're 158. You can make your Clef matchup better by just simply Moonblasting the Conkeldurr as well and doing a lot of damage. Speed creep on Clefable is great for that reason. There's a lot you can do because you are a target, and as a target, adapting to the things around you is smart, and it can really improve your matchup in that case. And in line with that, we also have Heatran, who was a target, but now he's a user. And this is looking at a slightly better, in my opinion, Calm Heatran set, where with the 31 IV, you run 80 speed to hit 210. And if you remember from our targets, a few of our targets were water types that definitely want to hit Heatran, being Azu, specifically probably Adamant, and Crawdont, hitting 209. So what Heatran is trying to accomplish by hitting 210 is, in the case that you have no switch-ins to the Crawdont or the Azu in front of you, you have a last-ditch effort, a 30% chance to burn with a Lava Plume. This speed creep is definitely more popular and acceptable on Lava Plume sets, but it's still an option you can run, just to get that pinch hit off in a time of need. You will never be able to OKO either of them, I'm fairly confident, but getting the Lava Plume, or if you want a Toxic off, can be fantastic. So this is definitely an option that can improve your matchups more in a random chance-based system, but still worth mentioning. Goodra, this is the first one that's really attacking this Bisharp by running 176 speed here to hit 240, which, as we remember from our targets, our Bisharp here, assuming we are Adamant Bisharp, is going to be bullied at only 239 speed. So our Goodra is hitting 240. And the reason this is good is just forcing it to Sucker Punch instead of Knockoff. The calcs are not that much crazier, and you're especially still dead if it got up a Swords Dance. But you can have the option to Fire Blast, Flamethrower, or even Earthquake on some mix sets on the Bisharp here to get some damage off. That damage can be huge to revenge kill it with Azu in the back, something like an Aqua Jet or a Crawdont. And if you don't want to run this much speed, you can still run enough speed to deal with the water types and actually do stuff to it because you get Thunderbolts. So again, this much speed may not be that much of interest to you. But if you run 230 speed, you're going to be outspeeding Jolly Crawdont, which is 229. You can go down a bit more to 219 speed, and this one outspeeds Jolly Azu. You don't die to Aquajet, you only die to Play Rough, and you do get a lot of bulk as a result of the spread. Or you can even go to 200 speed only. A lot of HP, very, very bulky build here. And then you can deal with Adamant Azu directly, and that's it, which is at 199 speed, while you reside at 200. You have options, without a doubt, and Goodra is one of the ones that you really can be flexible on based on what you want to do. And I guess Mandibuzz and Heatran go hand in hand in some type of way, Goodra being the awkward middle child in between. But Mandibuzz is excellent in exactly countering the waters. Once again, that's what we're mostly going to be looking at, because they're so slow, they're so susceptible to being speed crept on. And Mandibuzz is a great example. Foul play on the Crawdont is going to be doing a lot, especially after a Swords Dance from the Crawdonts. And then Taunt to completely shut down a Calm Heatran build. And on this Mandibuzz, we are running enough speed, 211 speed, to of course counter directly the Heatran that is 210, but also have a bit more merit in running against the Adamant Crawdon on its own. You just run the little bit of extra speed just to deal with Heatran. And we can see a good example of this and where the IVs and PPO come into play here. Here's a Mandibuzz I found on the market. And this person was very smart to, of course, train it well. But then if we can look, they only had a 20 IV in speed. And as a result, they didn't copy a Smogon spread. They did their own research and did 104 EVs. So just to show what this does, even though 104 EVs seems criminal on a Mandibuzz, it actually hits the exact same set as the one I'm suggesting in this video. So there is some merit to always checking your EVs and IVs and making sure you're not copying something blindly. And Mandibuzz is just incredible. There's a lot of stuff you can do with that. Togekiss is an interesting one, especially on a bold build. Now, bold Togekiss, you might not immediately think to run speed, but this speed is good. Again, we're hitting the Adamant Azu, the Adamant Crawdont. That's becoming such a theme with some of these slower mons at the beginning here. But there is one other notable calc here. We are 214 speed carrying Thunder Wave. And what can happen here is a Chandelure, that Scarf, let's just say hypothetically a base 80 speed Scarfer, which could also be Medicham or opposing Togekiss. If you were to paralyze one of these with Thunder Wave, it goes down to 213 speed. So suddenly your Serene Grace, Thunder Wave, Air Slash Togekiss can easily 1v1 a base 80 Scarfer. And this is a really interesting case study to look at for where we are speed creeping, not necessarily for raw speed, but speed while paralyzed. And this can definitely change matchups entirely if you just Thunder Wave and proceed to Air Slash down. If you had less speed, for example, only running enough for Crawdont, a max speed Chandelure can still 1v1 you despite being paralyzed. So running just this extra speed turns that matchup upside down. Rotom Wash is definitely the subject of today's video in so many ways. Rotom Wash is one I see so many common mistakes of. So looking at this Rotom Wash here that I also found on the market, this Rotom Wash seems really good. You know, the catcher of this, they might be thinking, wow, look at that bulk, 27, 26, 24. I only have 9 special attack, but I'm just using it as a defensive wall anyway. So they proceed to EV train it like this. Well, they made a crucial mistake. And by looking at a 15 speed IV, let's just dissect what they did. A 15 speed IV on a bold wash with 4 EVs. This mistake is deadly They are slower than the adamant Azumarill we have brought up multiple times up to this point, being at 199 speed. We have a bold wash that's slower than Adiazu. That can be really bad, and that can definitely, in this case, change the outcome of the game. Well, how can we fix this? There's a few options of speed creep you can run on Rotom Wash. I will start with the one that I think is the most minimal, and to efficiently beat the Belly Drum Azu, like the example I gave at the beginning of the video, you should be 44 speed, assuming a 31 IV. Remember to adjust this based on your own IV, but the person that was 15 IVs, I think they could have hit this relatively easily as well. Just to show that this is worth, in my opinion, to go for that. Back to the example. This is the minimum I would run, because on most teams, you don't really have that many resists to a +6 Aqua Jet from a Belly Drum Azumarill. So you should have this to make sure your Volt Switch kills, and the Azu can't just click Play Rough freely and kill you. Dependent to hits. There's another option. You could speed creep up to Adamant T-Tar, which is about here. Or finally, the one that I kind of like is 230 speed, and this one will outspeed Jolly Crawdons. And again, if you get hit by a +2 knockoff from a Jolly Crawdons, that can end up being pretty bad. We have a bold wash here, 208 defense, bold, pull out a Crawdons, Swords Dance, Jolly. A +2 knockoff is going to be killing a wash easily, which makes wash not a switch in unless you have enough speed. And in that case, your Volt Switch usually kills, even with no invest. So this is the spread that I like the best. I wouldn't really go any faster. For example, for Bisharp speed, this is probably giving up a bit too much, but you can always be aware of your options. In an introductory video, I'll give you the ropes. It is up to you how you experiment. Gliscor is the next one on this list, and Gliscor is very flexible in what you can do. Relevant to our video, this is the first one that can finally outspeed Jolly Breloom, it would appear, as a base 70. But really, this spread is being showcased as its prominence on stall. Jolly Bisharp is a little more common as a stall breaker recently in the meta. To some extent, it's still a little 50-50, but I think players are starting to tech in Jolly Bisharp just because of the prominence of this spread on Gliscor, which shuts down Adamant Bisharp. So as a result, Bisharp players are starting to be Jolly to outspeed this careful Gliscor, or it could even be like Impish Gliscor, if you get what I mean. But by teching in a Jolly Gliscor recently, you're shutting down Jolly Bisharp. So it's a really interesting war of attrition between those two. That Gliscor always wins, just because it has the higher base speed and the tools to handle it. Like I said, turns out, even on a Jolly Bisharp, preventing it from clicking knockoff freely is just a very, very good tool to have. Additionally, on a Jolly Gliscor, you can run enough speed to outspeed, for example, Heatran, which would be about here. Or you can go as fast to outspeed Nidoking and hit it super effectively with Earthquake. This would probably be on a more offensive set, but for the purposes of this video, I show you a spread like this. Alrighty, the last few I have to go over would be Zapdos and Garchomp. And Zapdos is known as kind of the Bisharp answer in terms of where speed creep definitely comes into handy. You don't really see many bold Zapdoses without any speed. And to look at why this happens with the 31 IV bold Zapdos, it's already at 236 speed. Well, it's very easy to just bump that up to 240 and beat Adamant Bisharp. It's that easy. And now Bisharp is forced into clicking Sucker Punch instead of Knock, especially because the Zapdos has Heat Wave to deal with it. So this is an excellent example of where the matchup just gets so much different with the Bisharp not being allowed to click Knock. Very good example. You typically don't see Zapdos go up to 263 speed, which would be outspeeding the Jolly Bisharp, but to each their own. I allow you to explore. The final one to go over here is Impish Garchomp for the introductory video. Now, notably, your Impish Chomp, if you have a 31 IV in speed, is already faster than Adamant Bisharp. And I do have to say that that is important. If you have a 28 IV Garchomp, definitely consider putting this a little bit of speed in just to beat Adamant Bisharp. That is huge. Now, we have a 31 speed in the team builder. So the reason you run as much speed as I had, which was right about here, this is because of your matchup against the Breloom lead. If you are an Impish Chomp lead, getting up your rocks or getting an Earthquake off to break the sash before you get spored can mean the outcome of the game in a lot of ways. A Breloom with a sash up that got a free spore before you get any kind of momentum off can be a very, very bad thing in a game. So definitely be sure to consider this spread on your Impish Garchomp to at least outspeed the Jolly Breloom. That can make a big difference in your game. And of course, if you don't want to go this fast on your Tank Chomp, just be sure you at least hit 240 speed. That is the most important part. So yeah, like I said, the last video on this went an hour long, so cutting this down as much as possible and giving you a bit of an introductory here was the goal. For closing thoughts, I really hope you guys enjoyed. Speed creep, speed tiers are two totally different things. You want to make sure that your defensive Pokemon with offensive capabilities can definitely check what's considered to be meta threats just by utilizing its speed efficiently. And that's what speed creep is. You know, speed tiers, you see a base 80 Pokemon like Dragonite and you're a base 70 Pokemon Bisharp, you know it's faster. But this is different. This is throwing all that out the window and beating the matchups you need to without giving up too much. If you have any questions about this, feel free to either DM me or leave a comment. I'm definitely interested in hearing what you have to say. I might make a part 2 of this because this was rather short and there's still a lot we can do with this topic, so let me know if you would be interested in that. Be sure to leave a like, comment if you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in the next breakdown. All pace will be in the description as always. Peace.